Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. Retiring at 52 versus 62. Which one wins? I don't think it's going to be the one you expect. Not everybody gets to retire. There are people who are working till the day they die. My dad passed away on a job site, falling off a ladder, tree climber in his 70s. So the idea of retiring at 52 versus 62 isn't something that applies to everybody because there are some people who never retire. There are some people who are just made to work and they enjoy it. I don't get them. I don't understand. But what happens? What's the comparison of what's the comparison of retiring at 52 versus 62? When it comes to statistics, there are a couple things I like to say. The first thing I like to say is statistics are meaningless when an event occurs to you. The second thing is most people mess up and they try to use the average. More people mess up and they try to use the median when they're making a point. Outliers can mess up both. Yeah, the average is messed up more. What I like to use is the mode. So when we talk about statistics like how much does the average person, what is the average amount people have at retirement versus what is the median people have at retirement, the numbers can be different. But when we talk about the mode, you'll understand that both numbers are meaningless. Average and median mean almost nothing because we're talking about you, not what other people have done. 48% of people living in the US have zero saved for retirement when they're between the age of 55 and 65. So that's almost half, which means median and average mean nothing because the mode, the most common number, is that almost half have zero saved. You are more likely to fall into half of a category than the average or median of a category. So when we retire at 52 versus 62, if you ask most people what would be better, most people would say, well, obviously 52, because we have more years in retirement. Sounds logical. But people, write this down. People vote with their lives, not their wishes. When these three numbers almost never line up, like this is an anomaly I don't think I've actually encountered before, other than if dating, in my experience, is terrible and relationships are even worse. But these three numbers line up the same. The average, the median, and the mode, the most common number that people retire at, the average age people retire at, and the median age that people retire at, 62. Meaning that if you ask the average person, what's better to retire at 52 or 62, most people would think 52. But everybody voting with their life, making the average, the median, and the mode all be 62. Like the phenomenal odds of that actually happening is reality. So if we retire at 62, here's why the list of retiring at 62 is so much longer than the list of reasons to retire at 52. At 62, this is the first age where you can tap into so-so security, right? Your money that you've been forced to put in a fund that you don't have any control of, that you can't access until 62. And if you're continuing to work at 62, you will be penalized. You can earn up to a certain point, and then above that, every $2 you earn reduces $1 of your so-so security. So you're actually encouraged to retire at 62 and not work, which is actually why Social Security exists. It was invented in the 1800s in Germany by Otto von Bismarck, not as a way to help old people, but as a way to get older people out of the workforce to encourage younger people to have a place to go, a thing to do, a job, so it would be less of a burden on society. So your Social Security is not designed to make your golden years better. It's designed to get you out of the workforce, which is why you're actually penalized against your Social Security if you continue to work up until 65. Then apparently you can make as much money as you want. So Social Security kicks in at 62. At 59 and a half, you can access more of your own money, your retirement accounts. So while you could have started pulling out at 59 and a half, if you retire at 62 instead of 52, not only have you had another decade where now, yes, you can take the money out, you will pay taxes on it. And political parties can change often, so who knows what the rules or laws are going to be when you get to this age. So stay up to date on the changes that are happening. But if you get there, you can take your money out of your 401k. You can tap Social Security. Healthcare is one of the biggest handcuffs people let make them continue to work. At 62, you are only 3 years away from Medicare, which also has an expense. And if you continue to make money, Medicare can be very expensive. It can be more than your healthcare. The average and median cost for Medicare is low because a lot of people that retire don't have income. So yeah, average and median, again, mean nothing because this statistic is meaningless when it happens to you. What will you be making when you get to the Medicare age? But 3 years is easier than 13 years if you retire at 52. So you're closer to 65 for Medicare. You have Social Security options. You have access to your retirement accounts, which again, Social Security, your money you were forced to put aside. Your retirement account, a lot of times it's a match that you were forced to do. You could have access to pensions depending on when you started. A lot of them are tied to an age, 55, 57, before you can tap the funds. But at 62, that's not going to be an issue because you have reached that age bracket. Here's the less tangible benefits to retiring at 62. Retiring at 62 means that you had another 10 years of probably your highest earned income because you have been demoted all the way down in your field to a management role, or you have the seniority, or you've bid the best contract if you're in a union to get the most pay for what you're doing. So you have this last decade, not only a decade at your highest income to continue to invest, but a decade where your retirement isn't being funded by your assets. So you can continue to grow your assets. Retiring at 62 means you also have at least 10 more years of contribution matches into your retirement account from your employer, your money that they took out of your wages to add as a contribution match for you. So again, your money into a retirement account. You have more of your higher earning years calculated in the math of what you get in your Social Security calculation. You have 10 less years for your retirement to be funded by your assets, which means you have a lower risk in the, what is it called? I took a note. Sequence of return risk. I'm not a stock guy, so I don't study that. Hardly ever say those words out loud. But 10 less years for that to be a factor. You have 10 less years to fund because your expiration date isn't going to change whether you retire at 52 or 62, unless you put 10 more years into leading a more healthy life and less stress from your job. So this is a pretty long list. You've had another decade to pay off debt, right? If the average age of people buying a house in the US is 35, it's pushing up a few years now, according to some of the data out there. That means that at 62, you've had 27 years to pay off your house if you didn't refinance, if you didn't pull money out, if you didn't do all those things. But if you just got a mortgage, when you bought a house at 35, you're very close to having a paid off house. Unless you did the bi-weekly and you cut off years, you have a paid off house. It's a lot easier to retire when you don't have a housing expense. So the age of 62 has a laundry list of reasons why it's better to retire at 62. The list of reasons to retire at 52 are much smaller. And I took a note here. I actually have a note here. No kidding. This is the list of reasons why you should retire at 62. This is the list of reasons why 52. So at 52, this is why it won for me. And I retired at 52 in 2022 after working decades and didn't start investing or saving until I was 40. It took a decade, but I reached financial freedom, made work optional, worked a few more years because I loved my job and I was testing my portfolio. But in 2022, after 12 years of investing, I retired. I've been retired for 3 years now. And here is a very short list of reasons why 52 won for me over 62. And at 62, I would have access to Social Security. I was contributing to a retirement account. I am also like everyone else. I need healthcare. Like all of these reasons to retire at 62 were there for me as well. The first one, an entire decade added to my retirement years while I'm healthy enough to enjoy it. That one alone is almost enough for me to choose the retired life. The second thing is health. I have had talked to many people. I just did a conversation this morning with Craig Curlop, the writer from BiggerPockets, who wrote the book on house hacking. And somehow age came up, and he's like, "Well, how old are you?" And it really made me. It dawned on me when I tell people I'm 55, been retired for 3 years, and people seem shocked. Which it's nice. It's probably fake, but whatever. But I can tell you that in 2020, when I was 50, I looked at least 50, if not 60, because of the stress, the bags under my eyes, the tightness, and the way I carried my shoulders from the weight I didn't even know I was carrying. So at 50, I probably looked 60. At 55, after 3 years of retirement, of no Mondays, of every night being Friday night and traveling wherever I want, like heading to Gary, Indiana in a couple of days, just for the heck of it, no reason at all. The amount of stress that's gone again that I didn't know I had. I feel 40 at 55, when at 50, I felt 60. Weird math. But that health issue to retire at 52 was huge. The 10 years of enjoying healthy, able to enjoy it, beat out 62. And the third thing, and this is actually part of my keynote speech at BiggerPockets in October on the 5th, 6th, and 7th, is the number 19. So yeah, I tripled my life. I get more of a decade of financial freedom, but the number 19 is something I learned too late from my parents. They passed away before I reached financial freedom. So I was lucky to think I even got close to a year with them after I moved out of the house. But I learned it in time with my kids. From the age of 52 to 62, I'm going to have 10 years of a completely open schedule where I've got three kids. Some have weekends off. One has random days off. One changes all the time because he's got a state job. And so whatever days they're off, I'm off. And they have lives and spouses, and they're trying to do their own thing. But when their schedule's free, I can make my schedule free. I can go to every event. I can go to everything that matters to them. We can have game night and barbecues, hikes, whatever it is, because my schedule's free. So for me, the list of reasons to retire at 62 was over 10. There were only three on the side for 52, and 52 won for me. Let me know in the comments, what are your reasons for choosing the age that you do to retire? Are you waiting for Social Security? Are you using retirement accounts to make the government, your employer, and the people who manage your accounts richer? Do you think you're going to live healthy into your 80s or 90s and have 20 or 30 years to enjoy retirement? Or do you think, like the rest of us, your health is going to start fading in your 60s and 70s, and the sooner you retire, the more of life that you're going to get to experience? I hope the number you choose is the one that gives you a life full of amazing. That's the intro to the video. I was shooting for 10 minutes. What did I hit? 15-ish. That's not bad. Not as bad as it could have been. The rest of this video is going to be answering your questions in the chat. If you are in the Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person course tonight at 6 o'clock, there is going to be a Zoom call. Email went out. The Zoom link will be in the chat in the course. Tonight, we will be going over, I will be doing my presentation. That is the keynote presentation for BiggerPockets. One, I want you to have access to everything I'm going to talk about. But two, I need to figure out how long it's going to take and do it to a live audience so I can answer questions after, because I'm sure there's going to be a time frame at BiggerPockets. Uh, this retirement thing blows me away when I look up the statistics of I've never seen average, median, and mode be the same on almost anything I've ever looked up. That's crazy. But most people are choosing 62. And that included people forced to retire. That included people whose jobs were outsourced. I mean, it was every data point that talked about the most commonly chose number of age to retire. I don't get it, especially with YouTube University and people understanding that there are some other options out there. I'm not drinking straight whiskey. You're drinking straight whiskey. Howdy, Frank. Good to see you here. 62. Sometimes it's because when we started to pay attention to our investing, Freedom Works. Howdy. How is life in paradise in Watsonville? Jason, howdy, everyone. I'm done at 55, but 52 would be way better. I've talked about this before. Cody Davis has been on my channel, right? Very successful. I think he's 24 currently. I don't think he's 25 yet. But I interviewed him when he was 20 and he had 30 rentals. And at 20 with 30 units, he said, I wish I started sooner. I don't know too many people who don't think that. Fatih, howdy. Good to see you here. All fire up. Hello. Howdy. Jasek, howdy. Logan, howdy. Matthew for the algorithm. Much appreciated. A-Rod RAI, have you ever had a tenant want to split the rent, for example, all the time? I've got two that do that right now. I've had up to three at one point. I only have 18 total units, so it's kind of a recognizable percentage of the number. I'm totally fine with that. Put it in the lease. Make it a verbal on the first lease. Renew the lease with that split payment. Sometimes it's how they get paid, when they get paid. I have one tenant, that's where the third one went. Instead of splitting, rent's due on like the 15th, late on the 21st, right? So it just worked out for their thing, for their pay schedule. I'm totally fine with that as long as it is something we agree to in advance. Happy tenants don't trash your place and happy tenants don't leave. So for me, hasn't been an issue. PE, there's a reason why a lot of people, when they're on the cusp of homeless, pay way more for rent. They go to like a hotel motel that does weekly. And they end up paying way more than they would pay in rent, but they have the weekly amount of money. They couldn't get a month's worth together. Curtis, question. What are your thoughts of coast fire? Buy enough to gross rents your desired income, then wait, pay off faster. So coast fire, it just depends on if you're okay with that timeline and what could change. Because coast for me means you buy enough to where by the time you do retire, you'll have a better retirement. That means that you're kind of giving yourself the permission to not be as aggressive or as frugal in the meantime. So it does work for people, Curtis, at your age. If you wanted to retire by 50, sure, Ghost Fire probably works. But at your age, if you want to retire by 40 or 45, I don't know that I would do Coast Fire as much as I would do 10 years of frugal and 10 years of investing. You're already on your way there with your second house hack, ready to do the third, working a side hustle. I think if you might call it Coast Fire by just getting to the point where you have 10 or 15,000 a month in pure cash flow. And then by the time you retire, it will just grow automatically over time. Sure. But I would want to do it faster to give myself options. When I say faster, remember, real estate is a get rich quick scheme. You just have to understand 10 years is quick. Because I could think I put that in the book. Brian, howdy. Thank you, Curtis. That was a good question. Brian, do you think crackdown on illegals and visa holders will affect rents or is it overblown? I don't think it will make rents go down. Uh, I suppose there are some towns that could be impacted if it's a town that's predominantly illegals. And I don't mean like predominantly one ethnicity. I mean predominantly people who aren't in the country legally. There is the exemption if they have a farm, say that they're an employee on the farm. There's good things. I think that the waiting lists in so many places in the US, like Washington State, the waiting list for Section 8 housing has been closed for years. In Indiana, it's been closed for years. People have been applying. The wait list for a long time was 5 years. Now it's just closed. That if you remove enough people from the uh, programs, there are plenty of people in line waiting. I don't think it's going to be negatively impacted. But if you go to any of the Section 8 groups on Facebook, there are AI bots that keep posting fear porn on how negative things are going to be to probably eliminate competition. But the video that I have coming out later this week, this is a teaser. Uh, 2026, I almost said BAH, fair market rents are out. They have to be out by October 1st. Like every year they're out by then, but they're out already. So you can actually look up your county now to see what's happening with next year's funding. In my state, it went up almost 100. That's like $90 increase for two-bedroom units. So that's after so 2024 wasn't too big of no, 2025 wasn't too big of an increase. 2024 was a massive jump for us. So we went big, huge jump, little tiny, almost flatline jump, and then the next year $100, which is close to well, it's over 5%. Yeah, it's probably around 7 or 8%. Mark, howdy, good to see you there. Sid, I got laid off today and I don't freak out. I know I have real estate to work on. In third year of investing, now do I go 100% real estate or go find another job and invest passive income from W-2? Depends on what you mean by 100% real estate. Are you becoming an agent? Because I've never been one, don't want to be one. I have a long list of reasons why I don't want to be an agent. Uh, are you going 100% after 3 years of investing as like a short term or midterm rent or bent by the room or something that's going to generate more income? Maybe. For me, I am not an entrepreneur. I am an investor. And to be an investor the way that I did it, it took a W-2. That W-2, consistent income, made getting the next mortgage easier, saving the down payment, building the reserves easier. Never easy, but easier. Uh, so depending on what you did, is the field still viable to go find another job in? Because if you're working in the same field, they don't care that you change jobs or why you change jobs. You're still bankable. If you go start a new field, they might have you wait sometimes up to 2 years in the new field to prove that it's something you're going to work in. But you have options, and at least you started in real estate. Because imagine the stress you would have if you hadn't started in real estate at all and you got laid off today. Flavio, howdy. Olienka, howdy. Hopefully, I'll see you in the course call tonight. Looking forward to feedback because I believe everyone in the course kind of is going to know what I'm going to talk about, but the cadence, the rhythm, the order that it comes out in. So I'm looking for feedback, and I want you to see, in case you're not coming to BiggerPockets, I want you to have access to see what my keynote is about. Mark is retiring at 40. Jason, 46. Nice. 46. Show off. Nice. Martin, 34, about to start Airbnb on my first bought and paid off home. Any advice? Um, Now that it's paid off, I wouldn't add any debt to it. Tons of people are going to tell you, put a mortgage on it, go buy something else. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of paying it off early, so I don't know that I would have done that. Airbnb is more active than long-term rentals, but has potential to make more money. I would look at your Airbnb from a sales and marketing position more than a landlord position. A friend of mine lives pretty close, comes to the local Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person meetup group, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m. in Tacoma at Cooper's. But there's a guy, Matt, who has an Airbnb, and he has a sales background. And it's a brilliant strategy, which he would explain way better than me, because it's not my strategy, but I've heard him talk about it. So he has an Airbnb in Washington in a place called, I think it's Enumclaw, could be Bonnie Lake, but it's a town kind of what we would call, if you live in Washington, it's called the middle of nowhere. There's nothing special next to it, right? So he advertises online. He's like an hour from Mount Rainier, an hour from the Seattle waterfront, an hour from skiing. So if you're from Texas or Louisiana and you're looking at Washington because you have some Pacific Northwest experience you want to come and have to see if you want to live here, you see his Airbnb online and you don't think, what do the pictures look like? What neighborhood is it in? They look at it and they go, wow, that place is in the middle of everything. His sales and marketing background make his Airbnb perform so well. He takes more vacations and trips than I do. Like, I'm super impressed with him. Someday I'd like to have him on the channel. I don't know if he's camera shy or just we talk about it once we see each other, but it never goes anywhere. So if you're doing Airbnb, look at it from a sales and marketing position more than a landlord position. People struggle with that too. Like recently during a members call, we had somebody that said, "Hey, will you look at this listing? Why am I not getting a bunch of attention? Pictures were great. Property was phenomenal for like if that would have rented in Washington State for probably two or three times what they were trying to get, and they weren't getting a lot of attention." So we looked at the listing description, and one of the things we looked at is it was a great description that an owner would want to see. Right? It had a ton of information that matters to owners. What it didn't have was anything about the area. How do you how do you think of I wanted to rent this place from a tenant's perspective? What are they looking for? And so really simple changes can sometimes I'm looking forward to the feedback on if the change was made to that listing and if there's been any increased interest. Jasek, I'm in my late 30s and been in the suck for a long time. I talked about that earlier with the BiggerPockets call. I think there's two things that helped me retire early. One of them is understanding, I think it's easier for people to retire early if they don't have a high income. And I know everybody that's making 60, 70, 80,000 a year is thinking, if I made 150 or 200,000 a year, I'd have so much more money to invest. But half the people making $150,000 a year or more in the United States live paycheck to paycheck. So could you do it? Maybe. But do people do it? No. What happens is the more money you make, it's not just life creep. It's it's what you're expected to do. Bigger house means more furniture. Big house means nice place for a boat or an RV. Like the more money you make, the more things that happen in life that prolong how long you have to work. So the first thing is, I think, because most of the years of my life I didn't make over 60,000 a year, a little easier for me to retire. It's funny. What's 24 by six? Six, four time. I'm making four times a year what I made most years of my entire life from passive income and profit. So that other stuff was made pre-tax. Uh, Weird how assets work and how inflation is your friend. Uh, the other thing that helped me retire early is that I didn't even start saving until I was 40. When Frank and Cynthia retire, right? Since Cynthia's doing at least another year with the school, she loves her job. I get it. Frank enjoys his job. Uh, they have worked for decades. They know work sucks. I worked for decades. I know work sucks. Like if I had lost everything, I'd go live under a bridge before I'd go get a W-2 again. It's not true, but that's how I feel. I would go get a W-2 and start investing. It would take 10 years to be financially free again, maybe a little sooner. Uh, when somebody like Cody Davis, this is the biggest danger to Cody Davis. He's never really had a W-2 for an extended period of time. He doesn't know, he thinks he knows how much a schedule sucks, how much customers suck, how much compliance sucks, how much your chain of command, because the crap rises to the top thing is real, sucks. And without that, I think that people like Cody possibly might go, I might as well just go back to work. It wasn't too bad. But when you start late and you have those decades of, like you said, Jasek, in the suck, that's strong motivation. So when somebody calls and says your water heater broke, there's a leak at another place, a roof needs replaced, a tenant needs evicted, like you have like all these things happen at once, like what is it, feast or famine? The feast happens because everything happens at once. Somebody who has decades of hating work is going to look at that and go, yeah, this is better than 60 hours a week. I don't care about any of this stuff happening. Alex, the accidental investor, 48 or 50. Good plan. Um, Hope to see you tomorrow at the Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person connection in Tacoma at Cooper's. Matthew, average rent for a three-bedroom, one bath house is 600. How much would you charge a roommate for a bedroom? Average rent for where the heck do you live? God, I'm curious. Average rent for a bedroom where I'm at is 1,000. So average rent for a three-bedroom, one bath house is 600. How much would you charge a roommate for a bedroom? Interesting question. I'm trying to think. You're So you've got 600 utilities. It's a roommate for the bedroom. It seems like 200. I mean, it's a third of a third bedroom. Are they? Yeah, because it depends. If they're one room, share the kitchen, you have one bathroom. Yeah. Wonder if that's a typo. 600, is that really it? Because three bedroom in my market, 2,800 for class C. There's better and there's worse. Interesting. Let me know what you choose. Buy the room. Maybe it's 300 and you don't charge utilities. So half the rent. It depends. Do they know how much the mortgage is? And your mortgage is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So if that's the house, unless you're renting it, but you also have maintenance and repairs. Things are going to break in the future. Tammy, howdy. I appreciate you watching. Jasek, I'm proud of how well you're doing in the set. Go get them. Nice. I love it. Then my chat moved, which is great. Kevin, howdy. Finished the book. The last few chapters were my favorite. Time, freedom, and the number 19 were eye-opening. I retired at 50 with a healthy pension, which is a blessing and a curse. It's the curse with the pension. Well, you did a lot of years to get it. You live in stress, wondering if the pension's ever going to go bankrupt. That would suck. Uh, Congratulations. Good job. Nice that you retired there. And I very much appreciate the feedback on the book. Curtis, trust me, I want to go faster. Wayne Wong, howdy. Brian, now, but since I have two young kids, 5 more years, 52, since I'm still chained this high cost of living area due to divorce and shared custody. That sounds very familiar. Kids are the priority. Financial freedom is great, but prioritize the kids. But now would be nice, yeah. Curtis, would you still buy in Gary knowing the challenge of finding a tenant? Yes, I would. I would still buy in Gary. Uh, Probably be as conservative as I was going to be with the numbers, but yeah, depends also on your property manager. And when I say Gary, Indiana, there's like 3 cities around there that if I was going to invest there, yes, I would rely on Millennial Mike's network that he has in place. But I personally would go and spend a month or two there learning the neighborhoods, learning the areas, and figuring out what's close to Gary that makes sense so that the team that's in place would still work. Because that's what matters to me when investing at a distance is the trusted boots on the ground. And they could be, you know, 35, 40 minutes in any direction. I think they would still work. All fire up. I have one tenant that talks about how he sues people. He's in a car accident and has a lawyer. Plus, he sues his former employer. Fix everything very fast with him. Not sure how to move on or just keep playing super safe. Document everything. Be ready for litigations, like have a retained attorney. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure how you put litigious nature in your screening criteria, but it could be one. Already in place, though. Just make sure everything's fixed. The lawsuits generally come down to negligence more than anything else. It does suck how the squeaky wheel gets the grease because you probably have good tenants that you have to remind yourself to make sure you prioritize. I wonder if this is too much of an overshare, but I have 2 daughters, and one is very much like me. And when she wants something, it goes like this. I need a new bike in the morning, at night. I would really like a bike. Here's the 3 ones that I looked up. This is the color I like the most. Here's where they're for sale. The next day, can we go get the bike this weekend? Because I know during the week might be hard. And then on the weekend, it's like, what are we doing this weekend? We talked about getting a bike and we didn't. She did. Like all week long, nonstop. I have another daughter who, a lot like her mother, but is a little different than me. She'll go, I'd like to have a new bike. Silence for 6 months. Never bring it up again. So I had to learn, I had to train myself that this one over here that bounces around from word to word with no direction, find out what's important. And the other one, listen like like my life depended on it, because it did. Because she could say something in passing that was super important. It's the biggest thing in the world to her. And it was just a conversation to me. And if I wasn't paying attention, I'd miss it. So when you have a tenant who's quiet, who you're super happy, you haven't talked to them in 2 years, it doesn't hurt to reach out and say, hey, we've got somebody coming for some maintenance next week. They're going to do the gutters or whatever. Is there anything else we can address while we're there? Because maybe they're just quiet and don't bring it up. You should, because happy tenants don't leave and happy tenants don't trash your property. Juan, howdy. I have currently have 3 properties with a total of 9 units. Congratulations, that's really cool. I'm about 60-40 LTV and do not want to acquire more properties. I'm 47 and would like to retire by 52, 55. Don't want more properties. So 9 units. What would the cash flow look like if you were paid off? It's one option versus adding more units. I think if you don't want to add more units, I would consider looking at your systems and how you can simplify it to where 5 or 10 more units wouldn't feel like more work, wouldn't take almost any more of your time. I got, okay, sorry. There's a text for somebody who's coming to the course call tonight. I'll have to make sure that's working, but they're not here in the live. I'll have to pick on him for that. Uh, so 3 properties with 9 units is good. What's just so this kind of like, here's some questions for you to like game theory it. What's making you not want more properties? Because 60% LTV, that's pretty decent. I tried to be around 70. Uh, Debt pay down doesn't create as much income as acquiring new properties. Debt pay down adds time to how long you need to work, doesn't start a new depreciation schedule, so you'll pay taxes sooner, doesn't give you more levered appreciation. I think when we have a portfolio of 3 or 4 properties and we think that's as much as I want, I think it's your systems are the barrier. If you are the one going to change locks, or you are the one going to fix a leak, or you're the one going to swap out a light, you don't want more properties. Build a team of handy people, people that'll go out and hire them for super simple jobs. Go, the gate squeaks. It's going to be 10 minutes of your time or $150 to a handyman. Hire the handyman for $150 because then they're more likely to answer the call at 10 o'clock at night when you have an under the foundation issue and they've got to crawl down there with the spiders. Build that team of people that handle those issues. And yeah, you might not make as much money because you're paying a handyman. I'm happy to. Michelle just referred Raul, and Raul went and did things that I absolutely could have went and done myself. Trim around a bathtub. That's a 10, 20-minute job, little conversation with a tenant, say, hey, don't go in here, mess with this for a few hours. I'm happy to hire him to do that because I'd rather he makes money on something easy. So he'll answer the phone when it's not easy. And I wouldn't know the difference at 18 units that I have now versus 40 units. My time with my rentals would change very little, probably an hour a month, maybe. But if you have 3 properties and it's taking you 5 hours a week to manage those, 3 more properties would double your workload. Screw that, right? That would be terrible. What can you do to your systems to simplify, automate, and outsource? It goes against logic. When your portfolio, and I'm not going to say is small, but when you're starting like that, feels like it's work for you. Don't make it work for you. It's a good question. But you're 47 would like to retire by 50, 42 to 52 to 55. So would the cash flow from those paid off retire you? Because you've got 3 already, another 5 years, you'll start to have levers to pull, refinance to lower rates, value add, increase your reserves so you can have a higher deductible with your insurance to lower your premiums, use the binder strategy to get the rents up. And yeah, for me, it would be acquiring probably another same amount of properties that you have now and improving your systems to where it takes you less time to manage those. Jacek, over 13 years already, kind of got used to it. Would it be wise to refinance my mortgage for, let's say, 5 years to another 30 year to significantly increase cash flow? That's also an option. Instead of refinancing, you can also look at recasting and think of what that would do to it because refinancing Sure, it could add years and lower the payment, but what does it do to your interest rate? I mean, hopefully you refinanced around 2020, 2021 and got like a 3% interest rate. Maybe you don't. So if you refinance to the same rate and increase it, that's an option. Recasting could be a way to keep the mortgage, keep the number of years left, but put a chunk into the payment to lower the monthly payment. But for me, it's add a couple of properties, improve your systems to where it takes less work. Josh Burdick took back a message to make me lose sleep and wonder forever and ever what is happening. I will have to wonder. Martin, yes, I've been in sales and marketing, quit my job to support my husband's career. Looking forward to applying my experience in Airbnb business. Thank you. Yeah, nice. Perfect. Perfect background for it. I wouldn't have known most of that unless I started at the CDL school and got kind of demoted into that management position where I was in charge of all advertising, marketing, you know, everything that it came to that. Laura, howdy. Good to see you here. Josh, have you reimbursed a tenant through Hemlane for a repair or a compliance, for example? Not through Hemlane, no, but have reimbursed tenants for things and then corrected them and said that's not how this works. Uh, but not through Hemlane. Nope. 10x Murphy's Law when stuff goes wrong. Yeah, it's Murphy's fourth corollary. So the first thing is Murphy's Law, if something can go wrong, it probably will. The fourth corollary is if a series of events can go wrong, they will, and in the worst possible order. So I get it. You need bigger reserves, you need better systems. Sid, thank you. By 100% real estate, I meant go into small multi 10 to 50 units, raise 20% from private people for down payment, and 80% from banks. I work in tech, so I can get a job semi soon. So it depends on your investing style, Sid. We might be very different people, but there's a reason why all of my properties are 4 units or less. So maybe you can go to the, 10 to whatever units if you can get fixed rate debt with no loan reevaluation period, with no balloon payments, no adjustable rate. I am a fan of 30-year fixed rate debt. So there was a time where I was looking for DSCR lenders that had it, and then I would go up to, Convoy Home Loans will go up to like 8 units. Velocity Mortgage will go up to, I think it's like 30 million, but who knows what the terms are until you get into the weeds with their loan product on which one works for you. But all in on real estate for me was small multifamily, 4 units or less, so I can get 30-year fixed rate debt. That's why the new job meant continue to be bankable. Uh, but there are people like Christian and Cody that do multifamily and have the bigger unit stuff. I don't like the debt structure. I don't like the raise 20% from private people. That means partners. And have you met people? Is their exit timing going to be lined up with how you put it together? Are you aware of all the rules and laws and regulations that come into play when you start syndicating and putting together funds to buy something? And how even if you advertise and somehow somebody who doesn't make $250,000 a year, doesn't have $1 million in net worth, so isn't the right type of person for you to be investing to, the SEC can put you in jail or at least court and sued and fines. Like I don't even know how that works. I don't want to know how that works. I like I'm the lazy guy. I want to talk to a lender. I want to work my lenders against each other and get the best loan product with the money that I save to buy the next property. That doesn't mean what you're suggesting wouldn't be a viable system. It's not one that I do. So I would check out Multifamily Strategies and Cody Davis Business Adventures on YouTube and ask them questions. They share their information pretty freely. Charles McCune, 610, see what they counter. So rent is the 3 bedroom goes for 600 and you want to rent out a room for 610 is I think what I must be missing something there. Wealth with rentals. Howdy. I have a potential tenant who wants to move as soon as possible, like tomorrow, and mentioned some drama. However, he said his credit score is 700. I feel something not right, but not sure. I did send him minimum requirements, also his 1099 and other applicant for W-2. Speed is a red flag for me. I need it now. And it's all the years that I worked in management and did hiring at the different companies that I worked at, anyone who is leaving or left their last job because of the drama was the drama. Yeah. I don't like people that are in a hurry when they need to move. That is somebody who often makes poor life decisions that could impact you in the future. And there will be a great story to go along with it. Jack, howdy, everyone hanging out with Mikey in Pittsburgh. Cool. Nice. Hawaii to Pittsburgh. It's nice to see where your money's working. Martin, where do I find more information on what you teach? I want to be an investor, but not let it overtake my life like a second job. First step. So these live streams are every Tuesday. I've never taken one down. Everyone is there. This is the 180th one. So 180 weeks. I think I had one week where I was on a cruise or something or didn't have Wi-Fi in Portugal. But you can always go back and watch these. All these questions that come up that other people ask help you learn. I do 10 or 20-minute videos on Thursdays and Saturdays. I have a book on Amazon, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person. It looks like a lot, but it's a quick read. A lot of people that have read it have finished it in 2 or 3 days. But this doesn't read like a novel. This is not a story of my life. There is a story of my life in here, and it's about 6 pages. What this is a book with everything that I teach. And at the front, there's an index. So when you're running the numbers on a property or screening tenants or trying to get the best mortgage rate, it tells you exactly what page to go to. I tried to write it like it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't read like a novel. I wanted it to be like a instruction manual with an index at the front. Um, if you want to learn the skill of analyzing properties, I have a membership availability here on YouTube. It's like $2.99 a month, $2.99, not 200. And basically, we do 2 videos a month where we jump on Zoom together. So all questions are welcome on Zoom with you on there. And we literally go through analyzing rentals. Math is a part of it, a very important part, but of the like 45 minutes to practice this skill, that's probably going to be 3 minutes when you're using the skill. Out of those 45 minutes, 5 minutes is math because it's important, but it's a very small percentage, small part of all of the things that makes a rental good or bad. And so we learn that skill. And if you join the members, all of the previous members ones are on there. I've still never taken one of those down. There is a free binder course at diontalk.com. This is where I get my tenants to ask me to raise the rent. There's actually a section in the book that covers that as well. Uh, there's a course at diontalk.com, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person. And anybody who signs up for that right now also gets a free one-on-one Zoom call, usually with a follow-up a month later. So that's on there. You can also just email me. I'm happy to answer questions. This is whether you are in the course or not. Uh, Sometimes questions, if you like the question, if you don't mind your name being shared, I make a video to answer your question so that other people can hear it too. If you don't want that and you want anonymity, you can send an email and say, hey, please don't share my name, but here's my question. I might just answer you in the email. I might make a video and just leave your name out of it. And I'm in like a community of people. Millennial Mike invests at a distance. He's a cop that lives in a high cost of living area, so he invests at a distance. The lumberjack landlord uh, self-manages over 150 units, does a lot of rehabs and burrs, and has great advice on how to get the best price for things and how to market your rentals. One Rental at a Time by Michael Zuber has a community on YouTube. One Rental at a Time does daily updates every morning at 7:30. Tons of information about this all out there for free. So before you go sign up for anybody's course or anything, uh, first, never sign up for a course that's more than $1,000. If a course is more than $1,000, you're better off just buying a property, putting a down payment of a few $1,000s and losing every penny. You'll learn more. Uh, but there's so much information out here for free. I would absorb all of the stuff that's free, find the people that you like. If you're really into burrs and rehabs and all that kind of stuff and you want the best price, Lumberjack Landlord's course is great. Michael Zuber's got the school community, SKOOL. That's where a lot of people get together. A couple people in the chat here run what you would call like accountability groups or meetups. 6 days a week, I think there might be a seventh day a week there. Uh, this is a big community, and most of us are just trying to share the information saying you don't have to work more than 40 hours a week for more than 40 years to retire on less than 40% of what you made. It's not a requirement. There are other ways. Me and Jack listening to live stream, driving the market. Nice. Kevin, having a healthy pension is a blessing and a curse because I make enough where I don't need to go out and grind, but if I did or needed to, I wouldn't go out and hustle more. Yes, I get it. It's called the region beta paradox, and it's something that I use myself when it comes to, like, an example is like keeping money. Where do you keep the money for your next rental? You can put it in stocks, you can put it in crypto, and they might get a good return, and then you can pull the money out and go buy a rental. You can put it in a high yield savings account right now and get maybe 4 point something percent return. But me, I keep my money in a low yield, 0.02% saving account so that my little lizard brain back here has the motivation to say that money is not performing. It's not doing anything. I need to find the next rental to put it at work. So when I'm in buying mode, it's in a low yield saving account. Reserves, and if I'm not in buying mode, money can go into an account where it can earn interest. But the region beta paradox, you are more likely to do something if you have the right motivation because it's easier to do the hard thing. And the hard thing is to go buy something if your money's not producing. If your pension is making life easy enough to where you don't need to go hustle, you might not do it. So I would find other motivation. Don't you want bigger toys? Don't you want more financial freedom? How about generational wealth? Like, what is the thing that might tell you, even with the pension, I should go buy some assets that cash flow? Dividend Dave. Howdy. Jack, the spiders are your friend. No, no, they're not. Brian, when you say you want to be 70% loan to value, can you walk me through that? I am close to 50% with a 3% rate, so I can't think of a scenario where it would be beneficial to increase loan to value. So if you have a portfolio where you're 50% loan to value, so that means round numbers, all of your properties currently are worth $1 million and you have $500,000 in debt. Me saying I want to be at 70% loan to value, the quick snapshot would say, well, go out and put 200 more thousand dollars in debt. Now you're at 70%. That's not what I mean. That is not what I mean. If I'm at 50% loan to value, that means, because I'm going portfolio, not properties, the next property I purchase, I might do lower down payment, right? I've never used my VA loan. My experience with the VA is so negative, I don't want to use the VA loan, but I have it available. So I'm far, what's that? So gross value is over 7 million, debt's around 1.5 million. My target right now is 50% loan to value in retirement. It was 70% in growth mode, 50% in retirement. I'm nowhere close enough. So what that means is my next purchase is probably going to be a fourplex with a VA loan, 100% loan to value. So that property will be 100% loan to value, which will bring my overall debt closer to 50%. So if you're at 50% with these great rates, don't touch those rates. Don't add debt to those properties. But the next property you purchase, maybe look for a loan product that has 10% down option. Sometimes there's 10% or 15% options that don't have mortgage insurance. You have to talk to your lenders and figure out what's available. Could be your next house hack. Maybe you use an owner-occupied loan product and do 5% down on a house with ADU, duplex, triplex, or fourplex. And now you're 95% levered on that property, bringing your 50% closer to that 70% I was talking about. It's a lot of percents to do it without a whiteboard, but overall portfolio percentage can bring up your loan to value without messing with the debt that you have. Probably could have said that in the beginning and saved everybody 2 minutes. Brian, inspection on a new duplex shows lots of minor repairs for plumber, electrician, and handyman. I use property management and remote. Let the PM manage the repairs or try to do myself to get better rates. Probably ask the property manager how much the repairs are going to cost and ask for pictures because remember, an inspection report is designed to protect the inspector. It's supposed to make it look like the building is falling down and everything is going to end in unicorn blood and koala pee on everything, just chaos and mayhem. But is it really bad? Right? I've seen a full paragraph description. This is what can happen if a foundation gets wet. This is how the joint rust can happen. This is how black mold can set in. And what it was at the end of a rain gutter, there's a little plastic thing called a duck bill. It's a little plastic, drives the water away. It was turned, it's not even connected to anything. It's just a piece of plastic sitting on the ground, but it was turned and facing lengthwise with the wall. So I got a full paragraph on how much foundation damage there can be from water when the solution was turn the duck bill. Let the water go a foot and a half away from the foundation, zero problems. So when you're looking at that inspection report, Do you have the experience to look at it and know what you're talking about? Have you had other investors look at it if you haven't? And when you ask the property manager how much these repairs are going to cost, maybe go to Thumbtack and get a couple of quotes and see how far off it is from the property manager. If it's 5 or 10% cost difference, stay with the property manager, let them earn money. It's part of their business model. But if it's like a 50% difference, let the property manager know and ask why the cost difference. So, good question. Love it. Martin, thank you. Don and Bev Perkins, howdy. Brian P., if you have income to support it, getting the next property at something more than 75% use closer to 7% overall. Very concise, very accurate. Exactly. Thanks, Don and Bev. Josh, I'm almost halfway through your book. It's like a choose your own adventure for financial freedom. Thanks. I thought about doing a section in there, but there's not enough. There's some of us nerds here, but not enough nerds here to get how that works. Love it. The book is, in my opinion, and some of the feedback I've got, very easy to read because it's written in almost YouTube format. Each section is 3 to 5 pages. Some sections are even less than 3 pages. So when you're at a point, you don't have to go read 20 pages. It's 3 to 5 pages you can read in like 10, 20 minutes for that specific thing that you're dealing with. Brian, Don and Bev, that's the goal. I've been racking my brain, but I'm stuck at 3 duplexes, one short-term rental, having a hard time getting the down payment for the next one. This is the challenge when we're starting out, and I talk about this often. I had 2 years of saving to get the first duplex and 2 years of saving to get the second duplex. So 4 years, two transactions. Just like everyone else, I wanted it to go faster at the time. Looking back, I don't know. Would have been nice if it went faster, but I probably could have made more mistakes. It speeds up later, but time to save the down payment. Yeah, it's frustrating. How much can you save every month? What can you do to increase that number? It's not always about spending less. Sometimes it's what can you do to increase your income. Ryan Pineda was right when he said focus on active income. If you take my course and I talk about the 6 steps to getting started in real estate, which is my presentation at the One Rental at a Time event this year that I did when I was super sick. But the first step is learning how to save, which doesn't mean spending less. It really is how can you increase your income? So right now, there's 6 steps to getting started in real estate and 6 steps between buying every rental. The first one's learning how to save. So that's increasing income, decreasing expenses. Then credit score. You could be increasing your credit score right now. Third, talk to lenders. What are your options? What loan products are out there currently that might make your down payment requirements change? Could increase, could decrease. Choose your strategy, right? This is after you talk to a lender. You talk to a lender way before you talk to an agent, but you do this between rentals and when you're starting out. So learn to save, credit score, lender, choose a strategy, find your streams. Is it an agent with auto searches? Is it driving for dollars? Is it mailers? Is it whatever it is? And then the sixth thing, rinse, repeat, do the work. Borrow that from Michael Zuber's One Rental at a Time. Look at deals over and over and over. Make offers on the ones that make sense. Wealth with rentals. If you don't like that, they want to move as soon as possible and want to reject them, but they qualify based on their application, credit score and income, what would be the reason to deny them so I don't get sued? Have you had any other qualified applicants? Uh, Other reason not to choose somebody. So if they qualify, have you seen, and he said his credit score is 700. Have you seen that in documentation? Proof, and not them sending you a screenshot of anything. I mean, they fill out an application on whatever platform you're advertising it on. Like I use Hemlane, puts it out on Zillow, Apartments, like all of those. One of those, they pay the platform, not you, and you get your credit score, eviction history, work information. So you have some legal outs. What are your standard criteria? And are they listed? One, is it your credit score? Two, eviction history. Three, do you have an income requirement based on income versus the thing? And can they provide proof of income? Not only, you know, here's where I work, pay stubs, uh, proof of last 3 rent payments. So all of the other criteria that can work. And do you have any other qualified applicants applying? So it's not a deal breaker. I've had people move in. There was a period where I had from the December 26th till January 1st to get everything done to get a tenant moved in. It's early on in my stuff. This person's still a tenant, still lives in that house. So while it's a red flag, it's not a deal breaker. Red flags aren't deal breakers. Let's say somebody comes and has a 500 credit score. Sounds like a deal breaker, right? What if they have a cosigner? So find a way around it. Brian, thank you for the explanation. I'm in California. Lower down will not cash flow. What is your next step? I, Brian, I have friends like Frank and Cynthia who live in California. I have a friend who invests in Bakersfield. My brother has rentals in California. So I'm saying this without sarcasm, even though it's going to sound like sarcasm, because when I talk to my brother about being in California, I just pick on him. That's not what I'm saying. California is a big place. Michael Zuber lived next to Silicon Valley. Way too high cost of living area for anything to cash flow. He went 2.5 hours away to Fresno, found places. My brother's rentals are in Rosamond, California, which is right outside of Edwards Air Force Base. I don't think he's ever had a military tenant, but it's just on the other side of LA County. So Kern County, tons of places where rentals make sense and cash flow. What is within a couple of hours of you, or an hour and a half if you're going to self-manage, maybe, in any direction where you might have rentals that make sense? LA County for me would be a no-go. In Washington State, King County, no-go. I wouldn't take a property there if somebody gave it to me. You couldn't pay me to own a property in King County. I'd sell it and go buy outside of King County. I wouldn't own in LA County. Words are hard. Sorry. So before investing at a distance, I'm not a fan of putting more down to make it cash flow. It can help your yield, but I often find that that lowers your return. Uh, distance, distance that you could manage first before you go at a distance out of state. Then, Brian, are you like me? I want the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units, meaning I wish my properties cost more. Or are you like my friend Millennial Mike here on YouTube? So I'm going to see in Gary, Indiana. He, like I said, is a cop in an expensive living area. He's house hacking the high cost of living area, so that's a priority. If you're in a high cost of living area, hopefully you're house hacking. But then he invested at distance, not because he gets a better cash flow or because it's a better market. I mean, it was voted like the murder capital of the world in 1993. It's like it's not the best place to own properties, but because it's in his name, Millennial Mike. And he, being a millennial instead of a Gen X, he wants the constant every month or every other month dopamine hit of buying a property, closing on a property, or once the burr's done, getting a property rented out. I'm totally happy with one property every 2 years, as long as I have financial freedom in 10 years. That gives me the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. I'm not even sure I want the number of units that I have. At some point, I haven't done it yet. I might sell one. I might downsize the size of the portfolio as long as it increases the cash flow and reduces the amount of work. Jeremy, happy day of retirement for you, listening while redoing the foundation of a pole barn. Have a great week. You too. Julie, I bought 5 of your books. I gave them all away. I need at least 3 more. Awesome. Email me, Julie, um, I'll send you an email. I have your email. But thank you for that. We're probably going to wrap up there. It looks like we're coming to the end of the questions. If this is your first time on my channel, that is the point of these Tuesday lives. Every week at 4 o'clock, I do a live that generally lasts as long as the questions do. Sometimes the questions last hours. If you're in the course, Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person, I will see you in an hour, basically. And there's going to be a course call every week for the month of September. That's the way the course works is we go a month with course calls, a month off, a month with course calls. So September, October, there won't be any calls. November, there will be calls, so on and so forth. Anybody who buys the course right now gets a free 1 hour Zoom. Uh, there'll be a members only this weekend coming up, maybe. It depends on how much time we have. I will be with Millennial Mike, so we'll see what happens. Uh, and I'm just giving it a few minutes here for the last questions to wrap up. If you get a chance to watch the beginning of the video, you'll have to let me know. What makes more sense for you, retiring at 52 or 62? Because the list of reasons to retire at 62 were pretty long. And the retired at 52 reasons, not so long. Everybody have a week full of amazing. And remember, you will be alive in 5 years. Start investing like it. If you're going to BiggerPockets, the BPCon 2025 at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, the code Dion Webinar 100 gets you $100 off your BP ticket. Ciao.